think it is time, guys. Let us see. Are we actually on time? Maybe we're a minute late. I'm sorry.
We should be on. Can you guys hear us? Can we do a sound check? How is it? Sound check, check sound. Arrows. Hi, Arrows. Hi, everybody. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Chris, Cindy Coker.
Hi, Angela.
Paula.
Hi, Paul.
Rosalie, Eduardo. Good morning.
Good to see everybody. Let's see.
Just somebody let us know. Can you hear us? I hope so.
Okay, Angela says sounds good. Thank you, Miss Angela. Okay, there we go.
All right, good.
Awesome.
Awesome, guys. This is exciting.
Oh,
times.
hi, Robbie. Good to see you, Robbie. Yes, and Jason. Jenny Pace. The room is filling up. It's a really crazy day, you guys. Wow.
Oh, the weather here is insane. I mean, we are like 75 degrees, but it's gray. They sprayed like hell. I mean, we had X's all over the sky. And then tonight it's going to drop to, like somewhere in the high 20s or low 30s.
I know, it's been so hot. The weather has been so warm. Hey, where did our thing go?
Oh, shoot. I don't know. We lost it.
Uh-oh. I see it here. Testing. Can you guys...
I'm not sure what happened, guys.
So we lost the chat on the thing. I think...
I've never had this happen.
I'm showing it here.
It won't open.
It won't open. Can you guys? I don't think they can see us. Maybe you guys can hear us.
Let me see if I...
Oh, Jenny Pace says we're good. Okay, thanks, Jenny. Still here. Thanks, Peter.
It won't open. Okay, this is weird, guys, because, yeah, there is interference going on. Brave won't open.
Yeah, Brave won't open. Our computer is like shutting down now.
Yeah, somebody shut down remotely our Brave browser, and we still are hooked up. Something went wrong.
Wow.
Okay.
Restore pages. So.
Yeah, this is wild that we're still transmitting, but we lost all our information.
Lost all the internet. Come on, CIA, do better. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I don't know. It's the CIA, FBI. Oh, by the way, guys, we were shut down by TikTok.
Yeah, we got
shut
down by TikTok too.
Yeah, look at this. They wiped it all out. They're making us start from scratch.
Oh wow. Can you pull up X with all of the history?
Shoot. No.
Oh,
I mean, no. I did hit restore and it's not doing it. So, okay.
Oh, there's our Mary D. Okay, so I guess I'm going to talk while Mike tries to pull everything back up. I don't know what else to do. This is frustrating.
Yeah, I don't even know if, let's see if we try to go live again with this. I know we're live, but we wanted to bring up limited disruptions, automated. What are they doing? We are live here. Let's bring this back up. Yeah, I've never had this happen before like this.
Thank you, Frankie. We appreciate that. Any support, any help is very much appreciated, you guys. There is a lot of pushback with us. We are special. I do get frustrated. It does seem like so many people are able to cover certain things and it's not a problem. It's not a problem for them, but when we try to cover it, it's like we're in some sort of a doghouse. So it's a constant battle, but we keep going. You guys want us here. You show you want us here. We want to be here. So thank you every time you support the channel in any way. Thumbs up, anything. It all helps. So now we're going to have to pull up everything again.
Well, we'll talk about these things.
It's going to have to be some off memory, but...
Yeah, we had it lined up. This is partially why I didn't always go and plan things well in advance, because I felt that it gave them time to be ready to pull the plug on us, and that's exactly what they did.
Twice now.
Yeah, I mean, this is so obvious censorship. It's going to a new level. the censorship. It really is going to a new level. So they call it a 6.0 in Peru, but honestly, it seems like it was bigger than that. It seems bigger than a 6.0.
Tranquila.
What you have is a lot of shaking going on, not just in Peru, but exactly like in the opposite. If we go and draw a line, it's not directly on the same lateral, but across from Peru, you had a big quake that seems to me, and by the way, here's the Peru one. Let's do one at a time. I'll stay focused here. 6.2 Peru. Honestly, it seemed bigger by the people's reactions. Right just off the coast, and I absolutely love Peru. If we were to become expats, Peru, Ecuador would be up at the top of the list. You know, really, there's Costa Rica, beautiful places, but some of them are getting pretty expensive. The other big quake that we were going to talk about happened a little bit more than a day ago, and that was over here in Taiwan. And what we got over in Taiwan is we have a 6, and then we have what the USGS is calling a 6.6. But again, there was other sources that were showing this as a 7. More than one other source was showing this as a 7. Right off the coast again. The Peru one, right off the coast. This one, right off the coast. And then before this one, a 6.0. So, I tend to think that they're downgrading the quakes again, the USGS. By the way, this one's right on the New Madrid, pretty much. Caruthersville, Missouri, a 2.3. And then over here in Lancaster, Kentucky, a 3.2. When you look at it, all's quiet right now in Washington, Oregon. I don't know. I think we are heading into that time. Cindy got from the guides for me to do cards overall today. There you go. And so I did cards, and they were calling for people to go within, ground and root. Again, listen to the inner voice. I think it feels like we're on the edge of kind of some crazy times. I guess this one down here in the lower right is a YouTuber who was YouTubing live. It looked like a kid's show or something. And then the earthquake happened, and she went running off. Taiwan, too. The reaction by people, it just makes it seem that they might have been larger than what they were reporting. So that's like 3 in a short amount of time. Again, all of them seriously over 6.0. You see here, people are getting ready and they're going under the tables. The puppy's just freaking out. Just kind of hang on tight, guys. It feels like we're in for a rocky road.
Well, these earthquakes really screw with the human energy field. I know that firsthand from myself and other people when we've had these huge earthquakes. And then I have some of our regulars kind of, tap and say, hey, I'm having trouble. Can you maybe balance me? And I do. So these earthquakes, they really affect us in a big way. And it could take a couple few days for people to come back from that. when the earth is shaking so violently, I mean, that's a huge body we're dealing with, and our bodies are just little bitty. So when you get hit with that huge energy, your little bitty body, it's going to need some grounding sometimes. So give yourself that space and grace to be off when this happens.
This is talking about the other one we had hit Taiwan earlier. It was before. It was a much larger one, but people talking about weird signs in the skies. And, again, the technology that's really in play on planet Earth is far more advanced than what we think. If you, and I really, sorry guys, before they pulled the plug on this, I had a lot of good stuff to talk about. It's not just these things. I really think we're very close. But it's felt like we're very close at other times. And then like Cindy will tell me, she said, well, you thought we were really close before. And then what did they do? Everything backs down and it takes longer. And then this is like, it breeds the little wolf, crying wolf syndrome. But the reality is big events are happening. They're just happening all the time now. And they're happening on an increasingly larger scale.
Well, what I worry about is, they do make it look like something's going to happen. They have us on the edge of our seats. The cortisol goes up. But in my life experience, as soon as I let my guard down and I say, you know what, nothing's going to happen, guess what? Boom. Universe says, no, you don't get to just relax, girl. You don't get to just go on easy street. You get to be ready, and you help other people be ready too. It's just, it's unavoidable. You have to recognize it, that these things, this energy comes up, it peaks, and usually it backs off. But then what if it doesn't back off? What if it just keeps getting bigger and bigger? I would rather be emotionally and spiritually prepared. Look at this poor fish store. These fish, they must be going insane. Could you imagine if our bodies are off? These are really going to throw these guys off.
Right. Okay. So let's think of it from a spiritual point of view. Our bodies are anywhere from 60 to 80% water, depending on how old you are and how well hydrated you are. Obviously, the earthquake is literally shaking us. It's shaking our bodies. It's changing our vibration. I tend to think that, both of these, they seem bigger than what has been listed. As you can see just from the responses. So South America, Pacific West Coast, and then Taiwan, which is, again, it's right off the coast of China. It's south of Japan. We've had very large quakes up in the Kamchatka Peninsula again. And when we look to what Ryo Tatsuki had saw, this was like the epicenter area of the big one that she had seen. Right close to China, Taiwan, the southern Japanese islands. You can see here's Hong Kong off of here. So this is like the left wing of the diamond shape, and she said the diamond is how she described this area. Huge, and literally what she saw was going to change the lay of the land forever. And literally, perhaps even, and the way she described it, it almost sounded like it may have created, in the timeline that she saw, a land bridge, literally from China to Taiwan. Think about the bigger scheme of things and telling humanity to knock it off with threats of wars, knock it off with all the endless, mindless destruction and craziness that we see. What if she created a land bridge right between Taiwan and China? I wonder if people would just sort of, tell the governments to go stuff it and let's get along, because we can get along. I think most people want to get along. Let's just look just for ha-has at 30 days significant. Okay, so these are the big ones, the movers and the shakers the last month. So you can see, up here in Alaska, 7.0. This is the 6.2, which probably was bigger. Over here, then you have a few. We have 3 that they call significant. 7.6, this is that one that he was talking about in the other post. 6.7, 6.6. All basically in the same area. And then don't forget, we had those massive ones up in Kamchatka. And then right over here by Taiwan, 6.0 and 6.6, 6.5 Papua New Guinea. So where do you feel the energy's going to go? Where do you guys see the energy going?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty crazy out there. I just don't know what to say. We had so many things. Someone asking is where is the shelter in place part at? And we had everything up, and I'm so sorry. We'll pull that up for you right now. I could understand. We want to know.
A pipeline rupture.
Yeah.
This is there's several other things I want to tie into here. Thankfully, I have a fairly good memory. You know, again, they literally pulled the plug on this because they didn't want us being live. And by the way, we were posting for about a month on TikTok, maybe 6 weeks on TikTok. And when we got a notice that we posted something that was unacceptable or what have you, and it was the last post we did was on the ether, talking about the ether being the thing that the elements come out of. Next thing you know, they took our channel down. They just took it right down, and you have no recourse. So yeah, I'm not sure if we're going to go back on TikTok again or not. You know, we have friends in some fairly high places that kind of warned us about this time period. And they said the only thing you might be able to do when things get tough is to upload all your videos to your own website, ultimately. So far, thankfully, Patreon's working good. And we're here on YouTube. We're on Rumble, too. You can run into issues kind of anywhere, unfortunately. Think about this. We have a massive natural gas pipeline rupture, and this is in Castaic, California. There was a loud explosion heard for miles, and it shut down I-5 in both directions. Chaos for miles. No injuries reported yet. Could have been a landslide that triggered it, or it could have been the ground moving. Well, we're looking at the big quakes, and we're wondering, is the big one coming? And then you see this, a natural gas pipeline explosion. Yeah, it could have been a landslide. It's been tons of rain. We've been talking about all that weight from the rain. Is it going to affect the San Andreas? Is it going to affect Cascadia? And the other fault lines, too. There's a lot of fault lines out there, by the way. So, is this something related? And this is the explosion. Thankfully, no lives lost. But it did end up giving a shelter-in-place order. As you see this post, a massive 36-inch underground natural gas pipeline. So this is a 3-foot in diameter natural gas pipeline that ruptured. And it sent high-pressure gas spewing into the air all across the Santa Clarita Valley. And it prompted emergency evacuations, shelter-in-place orders.
Yeah, I guess Frankie is right there. We'll send you prayers, Frankie. Hope you're okay. I'm glad we did mention it. We lost everything, so we should have mentioned it right away, but everything went down, but now we have. So I hope you're okay. We're sending you prayers.
Yeah, absolutely. Elizabeth says YouTube took down 2 very interesting videos last night. There's something that's ramping up, and this is why the guides are telling us, I think, to go within. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they removed our whole channel on TikTok just like that. Just like that. Boom. I mean, I was holding off from TikTok for a long time, and we were getting solid, steady views. It wasn't really growing too fast, but again, we're never going to grow that fast because we're one of those channels that gets ostracized because we're too close to the real truth, and we're too much over the mark on what they want to share. But I will share that a great channel reached out to us, and I got to still respond to him, and I would love to work with him in the future. So we did recently go on Adapt 2030 with David. David's been a friend for like 7 years, and we should be back with Wayne if everything is okay over in his part of town, so to speak. And we will keep working with others as much as we can, because this is what it's going to do, guys. It's going to drive all of us that are outcasts together. So you gotta wonder. I really wonder if this is ground movement of a big level in California with the pipeline rupture. Mm-hmm. Can you sense into this?
You know, it feels like a deeper disturbance to me. It feels like
that's my impression.
Yeah,
too.
It felt like a pretty deep disturbance. I think it's definitely something to keep an eye on. So I don't know. Just sending prayers out there to everyone who needs it. Now, I wonder if their animals were acting like really wonky, because this is an energy I feel coming from deep under. Now, could that have been agitated from an external source of some type of technology? Absolutely, they have that. They can sit there and they can irritate the ground, and that can drive underneath, and then up comes the irritation and the disasters and the instability. So I don't know, it's all the same. People can be harmed, and that's what makes me sad, because I don't think people need to be harmed. If there wasn't an invisible hand doing these things, people wouldn't be harmed.
No, so Etna is going like crazy. In case you've missed this, you have Mount Etna erupting. I'm watching Pele, and of course we were talking about Vesuvius the other day, but this is Etna. The world is getting set for some big activity. We all feel it. We see the signs. It's all over. So, Casey had spoken about Etna and Pele. I had searched for Pele in here too. It was really interesting. I saw this one post on it too. This was going to be more towards the end. Again, apologize for this, because they literally just shut us down. 1902, right? There was a big explosion on Mount Pele. The only survivor from a city of 30,000 was a person awaiting execution that day. Now, I didn't verify this, but boy, that was pretty interesting. I wonder if he was actually not guilty. Pele and Etna were two of the volcanoes that Edgar Casey spoke of, and he said that when they're going off together in unison, then you got like 3 months, I think is how he put it, for California before the big California one. He also said that, before New York goes into the water and is inundated, that the West Coast would get it first. Now, I think timelines change and our consciousness is affecting it all the time. But there's natural energies and there's natural tendencies that are in play, and certain areas are just a little bit more tenuous than others.
Somebody's Stormborn is saying, check out the dragon face on the radar right now. Faces mid-country. Oh my goodness, I'm not surprised. I'm sure there is quite a face there.
Then we have we have the winter storm that's coming and developing, as you know. Winter Storm Ezra, they like to name them the last several years, and this is a multiple hazard winter storm. Blizzard conditions, significant icing to the Midwest, Great Lakes, and the Northeast. Again, we were talking about the snow in the Northeast. Snow potential. You're going to get that. In the South, it's been really weird. We had one extreme freeze, and then we've had just real, very warm weather. I don't think our weather is controlled as we think. I think there's somebody that has an on-off switch somewhere that they're hiding.
And Max brings up a good point too. Yeah, we have the weather, and silver's a big one. And Max says, I don't see the system allowing tons of silver holders to become millionaires. No, they do not work fair. So, we do have that going on.
Yeah, if we want to take a quick look at the Drudge Report to get the hot topics going on, a statement from Iran that they're in total war with the U.S., Europe, and Israel. Russia saying that European troops in Ukraine are legitimate targets of war. Meanwhile, Zelensky is meeting in Mar-a-Lago with Trump. So, you have this last-ditch effort, see if they come out with some sort of peace agreement. Do you guys remember Bridget Bardot? She died at 91. There's just so much going on. And here you go. Look at this one. Why Newsom would crush Vance in 28. You know, how that could even happen and how people could still not see past the illusion that's right in front of our faces all this time it's kind of beyond me. But you know, sometimes it doesn't seem like we have like this just one species of Homo sapiens. You know, it seems like there's more than one species because we're so different in some ways with our consciousness. You know, those that are still totally asleep, you know, how much of it's by choice? How much of it is just their capacity? You know, has the fluoride really ruined so many minds beyond salvaging? I think that we can have absolutely amazing healing if we're just given the time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a lot of things we can do, and silver also. It's a great healer. There's that. So there's so many reasons why silver is extremely valuable. I was also picking up in my mind that the silver is allowing now, and I don't know how it's utilized, but they're going to utilize it for some type of camouflaging when it comes to higher technologies, you know, things in the sky. I like I said, I don't know how it's integrated and utilized, but it is utilized for that. So we'll have to see. Yeah, silver is something that is very, very important for many reasons.
Yeah, and you know, this is talking about another chemical that's been approved by the EPA back in 2023, chlormequat chloride. That is being sprayed on food. And this is, again, when you get organic food, there still is probably problems with the food. That's a given. But when it's not organic, then it's likely loaded with all sorts of glyphosate and these other chemicals too. And the plant, it's not just surface. The plant's drinking the water. It's taking it up into itself. So, yeah, you know, again, it's just another thing that we have to dodge. And we've been trying to do a health-orientated video on evolutionary each day, and we're going to keep going with that because, you know, it was hitting us. There's so many things that we might take for granted that we might assume that everybody knows, but the reality is they don't. So if we could keep giving you at least one nugget a day that might be something that you could take and run with to help your health, because man, it's toxic overload. So many people are dying unnecessarily. They can turn their health around. And it's so sad every time I see these posts from people. And, you know, I saw a post where somebody was talking about Smashing Pumpkins. Oh, that was my dad's favorite band. And not that her dad has, you know, cancer. It's that she has stage 4 cancer. And I don't even know if the person's still alive. But you want to talk to them and tell them, you know, this might help, that might help. You know, I wouldn't do this, I wouldn't do that. But how do you tell everybody in the world these things? All you can say is, hey, you know, we personally know people that had stage 4 cancer, were told by the system they had, you know, less than a few months to live, and they're healthier today, sometimes 12, 15, 20 years later than they were before they got cancer.
Right. You know, and I tell you, yeah, iodine deficiency, the deficiencies are huge, and they're becoming worse and worse and worse because the soil is so depleted, and it's become depleted on top of depleted on top of depleted. So there's so many things our body needs to function. I mean, and our body really needs it. And if we don't have it, things start to break down. And I think that's, you know, that's a part of the bigger plan. And we are absolutely doing our best to get the word out there and keep people informed if they want to be. You know, if you're out there, it's like you really have to take your health so extremely seriously, and you have to really want it. I mean, really, really want it to make those changes. It's hard, and they've made it very, very difficult on purpose. Don't forget that. So if you're on a healing journey, just really be good to yourself and just figure out a way, find your why. You know, for me, that's been very, very helpful. sometimes when I don't feel motivated and I'm feeling down and I'm feeling sad, and God knows I can be so hormonal. I'm going through the change, perimenopause, menopause. Menopause is a different animal these days, by the way. It is a whole nother animal, and it's very difficult. When you need motivation, it's not always there. But if you can find your why, it's like, well, okay, why should I do this? Keep that in your back pocket. That is so valuable. Find inspiration, have a friend to bounce stuff off of, but you have to really chase your health. You got to really want it.
Yeah, absolutely. 1964, this was a couple of things that we were going to talk about. This bag right here was worth $500. Now it's worth $28,660, and that's just increasing. They actually had silver in our coins pre-65. So 64 and earlier, quarters, dimes, nickels, they actually had actual silver in them. Imagine that, right? And think about this. What's really going on, and the financial experts understand this, is that the fiat currencies are dying. What's a fiat currency? It's just something that we agree has value, but when people start having their agreement shaken, and when they lose trust in the system, then it can end up being worthless. You had pictures of people in the Weimar Republic literally bringing wheelbarrows full of paper bills, not dollars, but again, this was in Germany, and to just buy a loaf of bread or two. This is where we're heading. The dollar is in its last days. Now, there may very well be a sort of digital dollar that develops, and then maybe something else. There's probably going to be at least 2 new currencies that we'll see in the U.S. But what you got to know is that the only thing that's really worth anything is actual silver and gold, as far as looking at things historically and traditionally, besides what other actual solid, tangible things that anybody would need that you have that you could then barter and trade. Like you have chickens that lay 3 dozen eggs a day, or a week, or what have you. You're not going to use them all. You could always barter and trade. The death of the dollar is here, and even if you have a 7-digit bank account, if you don't guard that properly and divest that into different things, and then that's where it gets real tricky. It may literally be worth nothing if you take no action. But what happened before, and will we see? That's the big question. Are we going to see them confiscate silver? Are they? I think it's highly likely that they will attempt to. And don't forget, they did it with gold in previous age, that for our parents and grandparents. This is true. The silver chaos is occurring because corrupt governments demonetized silver 150 years to make room for trash, fiat. And it is. When you look at it, when they did the confiscation of the gold, and we should pull that up here, I will. Literally, did they give you fair value? No, they didn't. And if you'd be breaking the law, and you could go to jail if you don't comply. This is why the government controls the military, which has all the guns. But the reality is, all governments are corrupt. They're all corrupt. Again, power, absolute power, corrupts absolutely every time.
Mm-hmm. It does. It does. It's a mess out there, and imbalance can just bring so many issues. So, looking at everything in chat, yeah, silver is used for so many things, and no wonder it's definitely a lifesaver. And there's been some really weird things being said out there when it comes to putting the kibosh on buying silver. So, as far as I know, everything is still up and running, but I do think something's just about to explode.
Yeah, we had a comment there that said, come on, guys, your channel is not that big to be that targeted. Are you kidding? they show us having 30 million views over the course of our existence, but we had a video with 980 million views. That's a lot of 980,000 views.
It's not big now, is it?
No, I mean,
it was.
our reach was in the tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of views per video. And, that was growing exponentially, and they just shut it off. This is what they do. So, that person too, I tend to think, that's somebody that's in the system. I think this is what the spooks want to do, is they want to say, nah, you're not a big enough target. Well, maybe we're not big enough target, to suffer an Epstein type of fate. But yeah, no, we are definitely ostracized.
Yeah.
And it's not just us, because we have many, many friends that have been going through the same thing. Watching their views go down, and I'd show you guys what we've made the entirety of this time. Again, we'd make more money being a greeter at Walmart than doing this, but it's just the right thing to do. This is what we feel called to do, is to call out the corruption. Here, the mayor of Haiku City kept 13.5 tons of gold bars, 23 tons of cash at home. Holy cow, look at that. And so he faces the death penalty. This is over in China. But, again, the government itself is just really, really corrupt. And I know they don't want us sharing this, but they plan China to be, not just the model, but they want China to ultimately be the strongest entity on Earth, as far as governance and military. So again, China's done it very, very slowly, methodically, but it's not even really China. It's the system. The system took the manufacturing from the U.S. and sent it over there. This has been going on forever. It's just a way to, again, they know there's, again, it's been said 330 million Americans, 400 plus million guns. How could you ever, again, conquer the U.S.? The only way would be from within, and taking, decades. But that's been underway for a very, very long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been going on and on. We'll have to wait and see what they're going to do at this point moving forward. I don't think it's going to be pretty. I feel like there's a straw on the camel's back fixing to go.
Oh, no, absolutely. Well, and you can, like on YouTube with the big channels, they can make tremendous money. There's some channels out there. There's a geophysicist channel, for instance, that I'm sure he's probably making 7 digits, literally. And for whatever reason, he's been able to scoot by. And there are a few that somehow scoot by. I don't know how. When they're giving you good information that the system doesn't always want to get out there. I understand the whole concept, obviously, of controlled opposition and all. I think what was happening with us was, we were again covering the earth changes, primarily looking at it as a bigger cycle, a natural cycle, and that was all fine and dandy. But when we started to talk about technology more, that's when everything changed.
It changed really fast, and we pointed out some other things that they were doing to human beings, and it changed again. So, and the idea that we try to bring people together, that's really frowned upon. They want people to think Democrat or Republican. They want people to think left or right. They don't want anyone to point out, hey, these two sides, they both are working together. No matter what they say, they go have a drink and dinner at the end of the night and have some laughs and give each other a thumbs up, even though they're just playing roles. So they really, really dislike that we try to pull people together and point that out.
Yeah, and Blue Sky, there was a war. It was never humans against humans. It was humans against Draco, Greys, and Custodians. That's the bigger picture. As long as you don't go down that route and really mention the fact that there are non-human entities that are manipulating the humans they can get to carry out these things against their own kind, and these are the politicians that we have. In 1933, FDR issued Executive Order 6102, making it illegal for U.S. citizens to hold gold coins or bullion. You turned it all into the government, or you faced 10 years in prison. The government paid you $20.67 an ounce. Once they had all the gold, they immediately raised the price to $35 an ounce, instantly devaluing everybody's paper money and making the government rich. This is the biggest scam, and this is going to happen again unless people say no. Governments, and I mean all the governments, they're the problem. That's the problem, is governments in a nutshell. It's fascinating too. The Polish psychic has seen the U.S. literally being controlled by a corporation, and then he was picking up another country that was going to literally be controlled by a corporation, as if the country was, again, not a country anymore. It's a corporation. We know the USA is incorporated, and I forget, I think it was a smaller European country or mid-sized European country. Think about this. Where's all that debt going? What's all the debt going to do if the debtor, if it's being called in? Corporations might literally take open control. I think that might be the next level to this, not necessarily any sort of governing like we're used to with the concept of countries, but just an open outward control system in which corporations have militaries and corporations own people and everything, which is already kind of what it is, but just not openly.
So I want to say two huge thank yous to Miss Diana and Miss Susan Donahue. You guys, we really appreciate it, all the support and the thumbs up during the lives. I believe that helps the algorithms. And although we are little, we're still reaching people. We're still reaching people, those that really, really want the information and want to come together and make a difference. We are reaching them because of you guys. So thank you.
Yes, and we have no intention of, blowing up and being the next big thing, because that's just not who we are. We just want to help people. We'd rather not. We don't. No, because we don't want them putting us under a huge bullseye. So as long as we can get by, then that's fine with us. We'll keep moving forward, and it's all about changing things into a better timeline. Mali seized $245 million in gold from a Canadian mining company over unpaid taxes. Think about that too. And when you look at the bigger picture of what's going on, it goes all the way back to those silly stories of people from Nibiru coming here, creating slaves to mine the gold, and just add in the rest of whatever those valuable resources are on the planet. Some of which it's literally your energy, your emotions. Where's this all going? A lot of it could go off planet. We wouldn't know.
Well, human emotion, it really is quite different. It's and we are called to really control our emotions, and aren't they really difficult to control at times with all of this stuff coming at us, all of this trauma, all of this anger, all of this look at this, look at this, look at that. And one thing we like to talk about here is Buddhist detachment is so valuable, because then you can watch the news and just don't let it attach to you. That way you're not becoming a source where other entities can come and feed off of you. That's really, really big. And a lot of the concepts that we cover, they're not popular, and quite frankly, they're scary. So people don't want to face them. And hey, I get it. I was there too when I learned about these things, and my light came on, and I could see across that veil and all the other veils in between. It was disturbing. I was disturbed. It took me a minute. So sometimes people come in, they see what's going on, they can't swallow that jagged pill, but you know what? It doesn't always leave them. It's like they're curious. It's like, okay, they've tasted something. there's more there, and their soul knows that there is more there. And a lot of people we work on, they say, I don't know why I contact you guys. I just keep hearing this voice in my head. It says, contact Mike and Cindy, contact Mike and Cindy. And you know what? We remove a lot of blocks so their guides and angels can then come in and talk to them, and they can get the information that they need. I know it sounds super crazy, but that's the flow of life. These things are just, we're not taught them in school, and we probably never will be.
Yeah, lots of great comments out there. I'm curious on what Robbie was talking about. The silver and gold keys represent the number 88 in the San Francisco Bridge. That sounds interesting. And again, thank you, Susan, for all your help over all these years. This is from Ash Crypto saying, gold and silver are pumping. Bitcoin will be next. I think really what they're going to do is they will probably do some sort of, there's a law that went into effect, or there was a executive order about safeguarding our critical minerals and natural resources, which I think, silver could fall under, gold as well. And maybe, also those rare earth elements that we all know about that, over in the Asheville area, it turns out there was quite a few of those that came to light after all the flooding. I would not be surprised if they do the same thing they did before, and instead of giving us, a dollar, maybe it's a digital dollar, or maybe it's XRP. Maybe it'll be like you got to trade in your gold and your silver, but they're going to designate certain cryptos that they will start to utilize. If I had to bet on it, I think it'll be something like that. Or it could be, a CBDC or a group of CBDCs. It'll be electronic currency, basically. Basically, it'll be numbers.
I think they're going to need that electronic currency because I don't think it's just for this realm. I think this is an energetic realm, and I think it's for beings that are off planet as far as the Bitcoin and the transfer of money, energy, and information. Ultimately, it's going to go from body to body in a really weird sense, and I can't quite put my finger on how that's going to work, but I feel it. I see it. It's going to go from body to body. So they have to make that cut from, coins and dollar bills to energy in some way. Is it fair? No, I don't think it's fair, but I see it.
Well, Scott says, lead confiscation will be next. Well, we've already seen that. It's happening in places like Canada, and in the UK, that was, I don't know, they never had like the US, and then that's where you see people committing these crimes, with butcher knives and things. It's just crazy. But yeah, Canada, I think Canada is again an example of where perhaps certain states will be. And, obviously, California comes to mind right away, as you've seen all the bans and everything, because, it's so obvious, but it's still going on. But as you see here, Canadian gun confiscation, this is from back in November. Pilot failed spectacularly. They even did it in the most, prime location to perhaps go along with it, Nova Scotia, but less than 15% of Canadians surrendered their guns. It's just, there's a lot going on here, and so much of it is just so obvious, but it's still moving forward.
So Lorax says it's next to impossible to get people convinced to buy silver right now. People, their ears are closed, and that's too bad. But Mike was showing me this morning, it was if you have 20 pieces of silver, what was that you're better off than like 90.
Oh, yeah. It was like if you had, I think it was 20 ounces of silver, you have more silver than 99.9% of the global population. Just think about that, 20 ounces. So in other words, almost nobody has any silver. And silver, the thing that shocked me was that there's actually more gold in circulation than silver. So that really blew my mind. Now we know silver has been suppressed, but the other aspect is silver is being used more all the time now in just, regular everyday use with the technologies that are coming on. Digging up of Notre Dame Cathedral, and you see again, how low does it go? How low does our civilization go? Oh, it goes low. I mean, we're built on top, again, of our ancestors. And I think really they've done the same sort of thing all throughout history, over and over and over again. The other thing I ran into, because I was going to try to get a few silver coins, but I couldn't get myself verified on one of the bigger sites. It was like, and I've run into this before. So I think we're already much, much farther along into becoming like, communist China than most people would believe. I think there already is, like when you talk about targeted people, absolutely. There are definitely targeted people. We already have social credit scores besides our regular credit scores. It's just not openly out there. It's not like your face is posted on every street corner yet, like it is in China.
Yeah, I mean, maybe America will open its silver mines again. Yeah, there's some pretty big mines out there. Nevada is one of the bigger ones. I know my father went and started, it was at the time it was called Bullfrog Mine there in that little town I'm from, and yeah, he was one of those engineers, fired it up, and I think there's still more to get out there. So what's sad though, in the desert they just tear up the ground. They have no respect for it at all. John and Jen, thank you so much, we appreciate that. They have absolutely no respect for the ground. It looks scarred, and I wouldn't mind going back. I love the desert. I would love to go back there, but we can't afford it. It's just so heartbreaking. I mean, my whole family's out there, but we simply cannot afford to live out there. You can probably get a little quarter of an acre for a couple $100,000. I mean, we just can't do that.
No, that's again why we chose to live where we do, because of just affordability. And, how could you set up something that would be very, very productive? And theoretically, if things got real bad, we could have family members, come and, live on the property, maybe build some small little homes on it. It's impossible to do that in some areas because it's just unaffordable. But you do have, Florida moving forward with a lot of good things. From obviously they already have no income tax. I think there's 7 or is it 9 states that don't have income tax. I think Washington State doesn't, but I know there's a lot of other taxation in Washington State. Tennessee, Texas, Florida, Nevada, those all don't have their own income tax, but also, the states are going in different ways. Some states are getting worse and worse and worse, and they're being more like the EU. And then other states are getting better and better and better and giving you more hope. Yet at the same time, how about the real estate collapse? Because it is collapsing. And, Florida's real estate market right now is really pretty rough, but Florida's always extremes. When you look at this photo, and this is so typical, you see a built-up city with not a ton of people, a scattering of people, and you have to wonder if they're even real or have they been painted in after the fact. In a city that's gorgeous, with gorgeous architecture, beautiful spires, I think a lot of people are waking up to the fact that the last big Great Reset might have only been, a couple hundred years ago. We've talked about this, and I wish we had more clarity. But this is 1885 in Romania. I was watching a guy on a channel just popped up in the feed, and he went through a whole bunch of Spanish towns that are almost completely ghost towns now towards central Spain. And just pointing out how now, if you're going to find crowds, they're in the cities. But when you get out into the countryside, there's so many empty towns. And you could see this in the South. A little town in Louisiana that we first moved to a while ago had like 2.5 to 3 times the population than it did when we moved there. And, it literally had like maybe 25,000 people. Now it has about 7 or 8,000. Well, business is closed up and there's just less people there. But you find this in so many places. I do think the global population is coming down drastically. But it feels like we've been through these cycles all the time. And then the shuffling of people with the mass migrations covers things up. It covers a ton up. That's why I think, again, when you look at it, all the mass migrations we've had, that's really coming from the UN.
Not to mention you guys remember how big the Cabbage Patch Kids were? Let's think about that for a minute, because they had like certifications and you could name them, and everybody had like a number. I mean, it really kind of seems like how things are with us humans, very much so. And with all the, those babies coming up in the Cabbage Patch dolls, it was just so very odd. And all of the cards that were made back when, and Nina says, yeah, back in the 1800s, a reset for sure. I totally believe it. And I think there's a big time warp going on. I think there's about 2,000 years that are unaccounted for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to do a little research and look at certain areas because, where I was born, I think the population there peaked in about 1950 or 1960, and it's just declined ever since. Think about this, and this is Sin Kronos. I know he's one of our peeps too. Look at what we just saw. These mudfloods, they happen regularly. They hit certain areas more than others. Like right now at this time, where do I think are safer places to be? I would say even though we have earthquakes and we're going to have floods and all that stuff going on, I think Latin America would be safer than the U.S. and Canada for maybe the next, 20 years or what have you. I think, again, we're going to have some of the biggest challenges here in the United States and also in Europe. But, there's going to be challenges anywhere you go. That's the bottom line. I do think you'll have people coming together. I think you're going to have a lot more small communities coming together and working together. And they don't like that. They really, really don't. This one's talking about West Texas. I wouldn't be surprised to see a ton of stuff, massive cities. If you just dig down maybe, 50 feet in some areas. Yeah, this is Indonesia, and you don't believe in mudfloods? Yeah, absolutely. Bronze Giant's great account on X. Absolutely, it's happening right now in front of our very faces. It's happening. But we can band together and we can work together and we can perhaps develop our own barter and trade between ourselves. And if they do shut us down to a degree as far as, internet, if the internet is a privilege and it's only if you go along with the control system and let them be absolute ticks and leeches off of everybody else in society, and that you get to be on the internet, then yeah, we're probably going to run into more and more challenges with accessing the internet. But then I'm sure there's very intelligent people within our mindsets that can probably come up with an alternative internet, and we communicate between ourselves.
Right. I think that people will find a way. They found a way all along. Whenever one window gets shut, 5 other windows open up. So I see all these things as opportunity. If they try to cut us off, we just find a way to go through. And that's what we do. I think that's what frustrates them about us too.
I think when people try to make the point here that people find these places, that people didn't build these. Well, again, and we were talking about IQs dropping. It's because what's cultivated is a lower IQ human that doesn't have much understanding, but can still do all the physical work and whatever it is that's needed by the control system. That's what they cultivate. IQs are definitely dropping. They're definitely dropping. And when you think about the people that would take the time and put in the money and the effort to build these type of structures, again, we're given that they're temporary structures put up just for the World Fair, and then they're going to be bulldozed over. Some cases they don't bulldoze over every one of the structures, and those structures might still be standing to the day. But, they make it like they're made out of paper mache and cardboard, and that's not the case. The reality is that the people that built these had way more intelligence than the average person on the planet today. Intelligence is recessing. It's going backwards. And that could only really happen if it's cultivated.
Right. It's something, I think the old technologies are going to be coming to the forefront. I think there's going to be a big crack in the informational egg coming very, very soon. Astrologically speaking, we are in alignment for that.
Yeah, like Scotty was talking about the Amish and stuff, there is a war against anybody that's going to be self-sufficient. This is what we see going on with the battle all about food. Right? I mean, anybody that can produce their own food and be self-sufficient and then draw others into that type of living conditions, like I think a lot of the homesteading channels have gotten hit hard because, they're teaching people how to do it. And that's a no-no because they want you totally dependent on Big Brother. They want you living in a city, just your cells or your body saturated with EMF, eating all the junk food in the world. So again, your lifespan is not that long. And, you're going to have so much inflammation in your body that you can't think straight. They don't want somebody to be truly educated and healthy.
So, I was watching a commercial last night and it had a woman walking down the road and she was wearing very clean clothes and she was very fresh and her clothes smelled good and she smelled good, and they were running a commercial for some sort of fabric softener that smelled really good, but there's lead in that, and when you smell it, guess where it goes? And to those other plugins as well. Those really yummy smelling plugins. I loved those during Christmas when I learned all this stuff. It was so sad because, but you turn to really good essential oils and you figure things out for your laundry. But laundry soap is a big one, you guys. When it comes to toxins, it's a big one. There's other things that you can do and individualize it. And if you must use it sparingly, but you can use things like borax, baking soda, and kind of formulate your own thing. And I know they don't always get things as clean, but you kind of substitute where you need to, but try not to use that stuff all the time. I know it does smell so good and homey, but very, very bad for your brain.
We did a Patreon and YouTube exclusive about a particular city in Iran that has leftover architecture that was developed by the Anunnaki. And that was a real good one because Cindy was able to pick up on the energies there. They don't want you to know these things. They don't want you to know these things. There was a time when these entities were directly ruling over us. They came, they conquered, they put their puppet governments in place, and then they left from our view for the most part. But the same power structure remains. When you feel into the energies again, Persia, that's what we're talking about. Iran, absolutely. Iraq, and all the way over to today's Israel, Lebanon, Syria, that whole area, that was kind of like ground, zero in many ways. And when you look at the structures, I mean, they could be amazing and absolutely beautiful, so ornate. And yet there are some that feel very sterile, and they feel very, very Anunnaki, I mean, Nibiruan, I guess I should say, to designate it. The giant cities of Bashan is again something to look into. I'm not finding anything. Well, here you go. Yeah. Again, King Og of Bashan ruled over 60 cities built by the huge Rephaim. Again, when we look to the Nephilim and the Rephaim and the Anakim, you know, when they go and give us Star Wars, they're really telling us the distant past. And Anakin is obviously a play on Anunnaki and also the Anakim from the Bible. But the Bible is, again, just taking little bits and pieces and, you know, not giving you the whole story. But there were, like this is saying, this one king ruled over 60 cities. Those cities were completely empty of people, but they were still themselves intact till maybe 150 years ago, but totally empty. So what happened to those giants that inhabited those cities? What took them out, but didn't, you know, blast everything to bits? It's the wars that came afterwards that blasted things to bits.
It did, and it is. A lot of those pictures you look at, it looks like a bomb hit. You know, things are just, people are, you know, walking over complete and total rubble, and you look at the buildings and the rubble and it's cement, yet they're saying, well, these were fires and these were burned down. How does cement burn so efficiently? And oh, well, thank you, Kamakaniku. I hope I said it right this time. We appreciate that so very much. Thank you. You know, how is it that they are how did they burn? You know, how did they burn it so horrifically? It's just crazy, you know? So we know that stuff has been done, and the official narrative, gosh, it is getting so old. It's getting so old. People just know, and they still leave that official narrative out there for anyone who chooses to believe it.
Yes, thank you so much, Koma Kaneko. We truly appreciate it. Look at this. I mean, look at these structures, and look at the giant that's there, you know, overlooking things. Overlooking. What do you pick up on just looking at this? You know, we were used to seeing these entities in the past. Maybe not, you know, I don't even think you have to go 2,000 years back and we were still seeing them, because I think our time is all distorted. I don't think we really have a good timeline in our theories, you know, that really gives you what's happened. But we saw them, and there were all sorts of different giants out there. And yeah, some might have been 7 to 9 feet tall, some 12 to 16, some maybe 36 feet tall or better.
You know, what I pick up there is energy of you see me, you had better do as you're told. People really doing what they did out of a great amount of fear. So that went on for a while. Obviously not forever, but there's a lot of fear in that statue that's standing way up there. It's a lot of fear. It's not an enduring love type energy that I feel. It's not an admiration that I feel. It's a you better or else energy I feel.
Well, this is Afghanistan. 2 monumental statues now known as the Buddhas of Bamiyan. Yeah, I don't feel a Buddha energy there at all. Not at all. It looks like he's wearing a cape. And yeah, it just doesn't feel Buddha at all, honestly. But anyway, the Taliban in 2001 destroyed this stuff. This is exactly what I mean with the wars. When you say the Taliban, you could say the CIA, the FBI, the MI6, the Mossad, because ultimately, you know, they might be fighting each other at times, but they're fighting humanity. That's really the truth of this. And, you know, they, again, have these wars develop just to erase the evidence. That's why the wars are here. They erase the evidence, and they keep humans at a certain level of population, enough for them to suit their purposes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's something that definitely they weren't very nice while they were here.
No, absolutely. So, it's always been about rewriting the history. The victors write the history. This is the area we were talking about too over here. Rome and the spread of the Roman Empire, the Persian Empire. It's one empire after another, but ultimately, if you really look close into it, what inspires the leaders? Well, a lot of times these leaders have visions. They're given a message from a heavenly being. Somebody tells them. How about Abraham? He's called out of Ur. He's called out of modern day Iraq and told, you got to go on a mission because we got something for you to do. This is no different than Joseph Smith. Again, leading the Mormons. It's the same thing that happens time after time. And again, Cindy's got a channeling on religion that we'll be doing tomorrow. When you look into it, this is the control system. It truly is the control system. And Babylon, that grew into one of the largest cities of the ancient world, capital of Mesopotamia. This is in some ways, it feels like it was the home base of the Nibiruans.
Yeah, so many things out there. Why is it not? This really needs to be in our history books in such a big way. And I wonder at what point are they going to finally put the truth out there and start teaching that in our schools.
Welcome, Peter. This was a good one. We got sabotaged early on. They literally took everything I had lined up and turned it off, but we've just kind of improvised, and hopefully it's been inspiring and informational for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was it became a very planned thing. It became more of an impromptu, and just here we are.
So, as always, will you, Cindy's going to give us some dings and send out some positive energy. We want to thank you guys for your support, too. I mean, we couldn't do it without you guys.
Yes, we want to say a huge thank you to Frankie, Diana, Susan, and Komo Kiniku. Thanks, you guys, for your support.
And John and Jen, too.
And John and Jen, too. Sorry about that. I always cringe when I forget someone, so I hope I didn't forget anybody. Thank you so much. And you know the drill. Find a happy place in your mind.
Yes, and I'm sorry, Susan just put this out. Monarch means one archon. Yeah, let that just sink in. Monarch. Yeah. That's great. Thank you so much, Susan.
Here we go. Tomorrow we do have a family member going in for surgery. Bruce, please send him good intentions. Okay, you guys, it was wonderful, productive. We hope you had a good time, and we'll talk again soon. Source bless and namaste.
Much love and gratitude, guys. Again, sorry for the technical challenges, but we will overcome. Source bless and namaste.